that. That is really beautiful. And I think what I'm going to do next year is I'm going to keep an eye out for the citrus swallowtails, because that's something we haven't seen very many of. You see them occasionally, those big beautiful black butterflies with all the yellow on them, the citrus swallowtails. They're quite large. They sort of get bigger than the size of my hand. I'd like to try and find out what plant species they lay their eggs on, so that we can try and find the caterpillars, because we saw the dice moth caterpillars. They're very easy to identify. We saw some of the acrias. I think we saw some of the, was it not the commodores, the caraxes, the emperors. I think we saw some of theirs. We saw well, actually we didn't see any larvae of the lunar moth, but we definitely did see a couple of lunar moths. Not enough. I think we could do with some more. Hopefully we'll get some towards the end of this year as well. Now, we've come all the way. We've actually done quite a fair amount of walking, because we're now at Elephant Carcass. And I'm not sure what Herbie's plan was, if we're going to carry on going down towards Twin Dams, or we're going to go around and just check around Treehouse, because I don't think anybody has come and checked there. We've got to do a bit of tracking now. We've got to find out where Herbie has gone walking. But James has got a bird that do the best kind of dust bathing. However, I'm not sure if it is this morning.
It certainly is not. What it's doing is sitting, and it's a really nice picture, that, because you can see that the sky looks snowy white. It almost looks like it's been placed against a sort of white background. Now that is because David is exposing for the bird and not for the sky behind, and that's why that's such a remarkable picture. I'm trying to do the same as you, David. I'm trying desperately to create what you have created. Fortunately, my brilliance does not extend to yours. Now, what I would very much like him to do is his display. While you look at him, and while we wait for him to do his display, I will inform you that I did an extensive walk around the area. Those impala were very upset by my presence, and I suspect quite strongly that whatever it is, and I'm pretty sure it's Shongile, is still around this area. We're now at the Galago Pan, so we're going to spend a little bit more time here and just see if she doesn't pop out. There he is, David. That is the yellow-billed hornbill, in case you're wondering. We know that, of course, David, because he has a yellow bill. Well done. Good. You are learning.
Yes.
Whenever I used to say things like that to Brian Joubert, he would say, because it's got a black tail, because it eats frogs. It doesn't, of course, eat frogs at all. It does eat chameleons, though. Hello, Brian. Assuming it's not the Brian Joubert I was talking of earlier. Brian, you say you never thought a bird could look like that. I'm not sure what to say to that, Brian, other than they can look like that, and indeed they do. Many of them, many hornbills from here all the way into Southeast Asia look very similar to that. We'll try and find you some more, Brian. I guess it is a sense of wonder that the what bird? Banana bird. Oh, yes. Dinga, you say that is the banana bird. Yes, it is the banana bird, Dinga. We try to avoid saying that. It's one of the things that we were taught, Dinga, when I was first a guide. I had a fairly cynical teacher, so obviously he suited my personality very nicely. He said there are four things you will never say in the bush. The one is you will never call a yellow-billed hornbill a banana bird. You will never call a red-billed hornbill a flying chili. You will never call an impala the McDonald's of the bush. And you will never tell anyone that elephants get drunk on marulas. But Dinga, I don't mind at all. Now what I was saying before Dinger's comment about the banana bird, what I wanted to say there was that, of course, if you're a new viewer or you're just exposing yourself to birding for the first time or just to nature for the first time, of course it's a whole new world of discovery and complete wonderment. And so yes, a hornbill like that, which is as common as you like around here, is an astonishing creature, especially if you've never seen one before. So I don't mean to make light of the wonderment of the humble yet magnificent yellow-billed banana bird hornbill. I've just done it myself now. Now, there's a little track that goes down through here. Here it is. And we're going to drive on it because it goes to the front of the WildEarthTV dam. And if Shongalai is where I think she's gone, she might pop out here. She might not. With my luck, most likely not. So let's go along here. And then we're also going to show you a big surprise at the dam. At the dam, the surprise is that, well, I'm going to tell you what the surprise is. I'm going to surprise you with my words. There's another bird alarming in here. The surprise is that the white-faced whistling ducks that used to live, harassed as they were at Twin Dams, they've moved. They've come here. They now live at the WildEarthTV dam, and so we will have a look at them. Now that fence in front is because we're at the camp, and Shongile and her mother, or certainly her mother, used to spend an enormous amount of time going in and out of this camp, and I wonder if Shongalai is not doing the same thing. So let's just cruise along here towards the dam and see if we don't perhaps get lucky in some way. We might also, of course, get stuck. I hope not. It would be rather embarrassing, wouldn't it, David? Yes. I have embarrassed myself on that score rather too many times than I'd care to remember. Beautiful to drive along riverbeds like this. Now let's look up into this jackalberry tree, because oft times you might find a little leopard sitting in the boughs of a jackalberry tree like that. And then just in front of us, the impala are now making their way down towards the waterhole to drink. Let's go and have a look at them quick. There they are. And let's see if they are looking as if things are awry or nerve-wracking at all. They seem to be fairly Sunday peaceful, don't they, David? And to the right of us, a beautiful call of the crested barbet. Let's go and have a look at the ducks. And hopefully Shongalai will pitch up here at some stage. And the last sort of those delicious herbaceous smells of the summer, these are the last places we're going to find them, in the drainage lines where there's a lot of water. And it's just wonderful to smell. It also smells kind of rich and verdant. I'm getting slightly obsessed with my jasmine smell and how to best to describe it. There's a gorgeous shot of a Birchall starling, which is now absconding. Good word that, isn't it, David? Yes. Sorry about the absconded starling. Right, we're going to go and look at the ducks and give up on the leopard, I think. And once we've truly spiritually given up on the leopard, it will appear. Almost certainly. Here we go. Please don't have absconded as well, ducks. I've driven past them 5 times today thinking, well, we can always bank on the ducks, they'll be here. There they are. You see them there, Dov? There are our white-faced whistling ducks. Now they're the same ones. that used to be at Twin Dams. And I'd say that this pair of white-faced whistling ducks, you can see the two parents, are extremely skilled. That they've managed to raise a clutch of eggs like that, I think is absolutely astounding. Look how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think this is a much cleverer place for them to be than the one they were in before. Simply because it would be much more difficult for a young leopard to get at them where they are now compared with where they were before. And if you look at the details, I find the details of the colours of these ducks so very special. That rich russet brown on the front, and then if you look at the detail on the feathers behind, on the wing feathers, the black and white stripes, it really is quite spectacular. I wonder when they'll get their white faces. I imagine they'll get them fairly soon, and then of course they'll have to go off and find their own ponds to live in. I think they're probably relatively territorial. I'm scanning quite frantically for the sign of spots here, and I remember once we were looking at, I think it was buffalo, it may have been something else, in the pan, and I was just looking around like this, and across the way from the pan, opposite side of the dam, I saw these spots looking out of the perfectly formed sort of gap in the bushes, and it was Karula waiting to go hunting. So one always hopes to see a similar thing whenever you come into the same area, but alas, today that has not been the case. I walk in the rain. You say you believe that ducks only have 10 babies. Is that an immutable law of the universe? That's very interesting. Thank you, I walk in the rain. I'm going to check that for you right now. Let's have a look-see what it says here. White-faced whistling duck. Tap, tap. Breeding. 9 to 11 eggs. That's the white-faced whistling duck. The white-backed duck. Doesn't say. Let's just give one quick look here. Foraging and food, blah, 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 blah. 4 to 9 face of the white-backed duck. Let's find a more common duck. Let's find the Egyptian goose, which of course is a duck, believe it or not. Not a goose. They lay, come on. They lay 1 to 22, so between 1 and 22. But these chaps, yes, would seem that they are layers of 10 eggs at a time, and the fact that they have managed to maintain all of them to this age is quite astounding. Laurie, you say, do these ducks just walk from one pan to another? How dangerous. Laurie, the great advantage of being a bird, normally, of course, is that you can fly. You don't have to walk at all. And so, no, they absolutely don't walk from pan to pan, because, as you say, it would be extremely dangerous for them to do so. They fly. And you'll find that these little things, although they are still small ducklings, they can fly. And I'm sure you knew the adults could fly. I'm sure you're wondering whether the little ones were able to fly. And the answer is yes, I'm sure they can. They would not have walked all the way up here from Twin Dams. It's a long way. And although they're small, they will be able to fly. And you know what, Laurie, you'll probably find that they stayed in Twin Dams waiting there simply because they were waiting for the youngsters to be able to take to the skies, rather than waiting there to be eaten by those little leopards. And of course there's lots more cover there. In that little sort of swampy patch next to Twin Dams is just a lot more cover. than there is in this area. Good. Well, I think we'll move on from here. We'll head along to Mvubu Road and see if we can't find something up there, and then perhaps head down the Gowrie cut line and maybe be very lucky. All right, I believe the Tayla is next to some water and she is not going to have a bath.
Well, I'm just trying to pick something up for all of you. Look at this. I have a dragonfly, which I found on a piece of grass, and it didn't fly away from me, which I thought was a little bit unusual. Now, I wonder if it's perhaps not a young dragonfly, because if I do that, look at its wings. Look how beautiful and sort of intact they still are. They look like they're brand new, brand spanking new set of wings that this dragonfly has got. And not scared, so it's either really old or it's really young. I can't quite decide just yet. But it is very relaxed, so relaxed that I'm able to hold it on my hand. Oh, look at it, it's cleaning itself, just cleaning its lenses. Now, in those eyes, there are thousands of individual lenses in there, which give them the most incredible eyesight. Are you a little bit hungry, Rowan? I heard the stomach grumble and I thought it was a buffalo, but it wasn't. Oh, there it goes again. That's what always happens. It used to happen to me always in the class when the classroom was completely quiet, would my stomach moan and groan. But this little guy is, even though he's very happy to just be sitting on my hand, is a ferocious predator. Now, they're able to fly exceptionally quickly throughout the air and snatch up prey in mid-flight. And as I said that, off it goes, obviously on search for its next meal. Right, so we are at Treehouse Dam now. Have a little look around. Again, a little bit worried as to how quickly the water is disappearing in all of these dams, especially after having a look at Tayla this morning. It's drying up very quickly now. I said I don't think we're going to have enough water this year. I think that we're going to fall short, unfortunately, just towards the end of the year. But that's also not towards the end of the year, towards the end of the winter months. That often happens, though. It's not always that we're able to have water right through. Normally you'll go a couple of weeks where it's pretty dry and grim, but then the rain does come in and sort of refresh everything again. But we'll see. I couldn't get that name. Nope, can't get the name. It all just sounds like one sound. Dirk, maybe? Maybe Dirk, yes, I think Dirk is the one. Are you wondering why it's called a Treehouse Dam? Why is it called Treehouse Dam? I'm actually not sure. Maybe there was a tree house here at one point. There's not a tree house anymore. Though if I'm wanting to build a tree house, this would be a very good spot. Maybe in a nice big marula tree somewhere. So Dirk, I'm actually not sure, but I think I remember hearing something along the lines of that there was a viewing deck or a platform or something along those lines around here. But it is a beautiful dam, and it seems to be the most popular dam for elephants to come and swim in. Now, I was confused as to why they weren't going and swimming even more often in Buffelshoek Dam, because that was a lot deeper and obviously a lot wider. You can fit some more elephants in. But the one afternoon we sat just behind us, and we had about 50 elephants come through and swim. Different herds meeting up. You've seen it with James. We even had night swimming elephants one evening that was also down here at Treehouse Dam. So this is a very, very popular dam. And of course, not only does it allow for elephants to come and swim, that dragonfly will live around here because that's most of its food source. It'll be preying on insects that come down sort of towards the water's edge. Frogs, tadpoles, terrapins most certainly, maybe a couple of catfish or so in this dam, but well, we look at it and it doesn't look like there's much going on. But I can tell you right now, underneath the water's surface there is a whole new world under there, and it's a pity that we just can't see. Wouldn't it be nice just to be able to stick the camera into the water and have a look underneath? But I suppose it maybe wouldn't work very well unless we had some flowing water, because as it's sitting here and it's quite stagnant, there's a lot of sort of sediment in it, and it's not very clean as well with all this algae going through. So maybe putting a camera underwater wouldn't even do us any justice. We'd probably just see sort of brown gunk everywhere. But there's a lot of insects actually moving around on the surface of the water, and we see that quite often. Little midges, lots of little boatmen who are very good at snatching up tadpoles. But other than that, I haven't even seen one terrapin this morning. Maybe they haven't decided to come out and start sunning themselves yet. I think they're waiting for the break in the clouds. Let's carry on this way. Now, Shamson, now you're wondering what type of, or what kind of life expectancy do insects have? Not a very long one, or saying that some dung beetles can live for a few years, and some spiders, the baboon spiders can live for quite a long time, especially in captivity. They can live a little bit longer than they do out in the wild, as do most things. But like, for instance, looking at the butterflies, once they reach the adulthood, it's normally just a few weeks before, well, they unfortunately wilt away and the whole process starts again. So not very long for most of the insects. Cicadas can live for a very long time. A lot of the time they're underneath the ground for a couple of years before they even make a break for the surface. And remember, we were discussing how some species of insects and, well, just amphibians and things actually utilize the seasonal pans. So the pool, the mud wallows, the sort of natural formations of water that only come through when we get rain and don't last for very long. And they sort of have a staggered life cycle where they might go completely start developing, might go completely dormant for a few months, even a couple of years, until the desired conditions and or the correct rainfall comes about before they carry on. Let's take a shortcut through here. So it's quite funny. So what they've done over here is they've actually brush packed, which is one of the things that we do out in the bush to try and sort of help stop soil erosion. And of course, if we have disturbed an area by making a road or bringing a big bulldozer in and sort of moving earth around, you can imagine it causes not a great mess, a big mess, sorry. So by doing this, by putting thorn trees, laying them across, you prevent, well, theoretically, you prevent animals from feeding on all the lush grass that would be coming through. But that has not stopped the elephants, because all the elephants do, they're very clever, and the buffalo like to do it too, is, well, the buffalo will literally hook their horns over thorn trees and shove them away, and the elephant will just pick up it with its trunk and move the branches wherever they go. And I think that's exactly what's happened over here, is perhaps all this mess that was once packed very nicely has been disturbed by the buffalo and the elephants. Nothing really stops them, but you can see, look at all this nice lush green grass coming through here. Now we're not seeing too much of these lovely green pieces, so that would be perfect. An elephant could come and do this, pick it all up, and then help themselves to that tasty bite. And that's what I love to see as well, is you watching now, and the animals don't seem to be worried as to where they're feeding. They're just moving around, constantly eating trees, grass, you name it. But as soon as this grass starts to go, you start to see how clever the animals are in terms of finding food. And one of my favorite things is watching, for instance, buffalo and elephant moving massive trees and shrubs away, and they're so clever, and of course sneaking under and getting all that lovely green grass. Mildred, look who we've got here. Now, Povey 789, you're wondering if there are any bugs or anything like that that hibernate. So unfortunately, it doesn't get too cold out here, so they don't go into a permanent state of hibernation, for instance, like a bear does, or like some of the other reptiles do in other countries. They sort of go into a temporary state. So depending on the temperature, they might go for a couple of weeks, hiding away in their burrows, and that could be from the tortoises to the terrapins, even to the millipedes. Termites will hide away. All these different types of animals will do this. Let me put Mildred on the ground quickly. And but then when the day warms up, they'll take that opportunity, come out and actually go off feeding and getting a drink and that type of thing, or just actually getting the warmth. But this is Mildred the millipede. Well, all millipedes in my eyes are called Mildreds. I think it just suits them so well. And this is not a particularly big one, as you saw on my hand. This one has still got a lot of growing to do, but it is hard at work searching about, using its little antenna to help guide it. Those are sensory organs, of course. They don't have eyes, so they don't really know where to go. They have to feel their way around, and that's why you sometimes see them sort of going over a body of water, or half of their body going over water, before they realize that no, they cannot walk on it, and they cannot swim either. So they don't want to be going into something like that. But they'll typically be feeding on sort of leaves. The rotting vegetation is their favorite thing to eat. And you normally see them, well, around termite mounds and at night time too. They can also be nocturnal. Now, that's something I saw in Australia. They have a plague of millipedes at the moment. Not 100%. I think I don't know where they said they came from, but they were everywhere, and tiny little ones, not big ones like this. But we're going to keep on walking now. Maybe we find some more millipedes, the rest of Mildred's family. Actually, look here, there's a bigger one. Ha! There's a whole lot of them. This one is a little bit shy, as you can see. Look how it's curled itself up into a defensive ball straight away. And that's it. Every insect, every animal is a little bit different. Some are a little bit more relaxed than others, and this one you can clearly see is not very happy with us, so we won't bother it. But something that I have to show you. Look at a tight ball. And sometimes if you get too close to them and you start moving them around, and particularly the smaller ones, they actually start vigorously sort of thrashing their bodies about to imitate a snake, or to try and think if it is a bird, that potentially it's a snake and might get away. Now, there's something else that I want to show you. It's just here. Look at what is covering this grass stem. Can you see all those tiny little things? Now, I have to stick my face right up to that blade of grass. But those, to me, look like pepper ticks, or little pepper ticks waiting for somebody to get too close. Oh, have you not got them over here? All on that stem. Can you see them? All those red things. So those are the pepper ticks. There you go, just waiting. So that's a pepper tick nest. Actually, a particularly small one. Sometimes there'll be thousands and thousands of them covering loads of blades of grass, and you don't know. Right, you walk straight through them, and it is really, really, really terrible. Not fun. Anybody that walked through a tick nest does not come out with a smile on their face. But we're going to keep searching. It seems as though the insects are warming up now and starting to pop out. But Tristan is still with that big herd of buffalo, which is fantastic, and I think you should spend a bit more time with him.
Well, Tayla, this is not the same big herd of buffalo. Isn't this incredible? There's now another herd of buffalo. So we came down to Cheetah Plains Open, and this is a second big herd that is running around in this area. So not only the one that is going north onto Nkoro, but we now have this one on the southern boundary as well. So nice to see lots of buffalo around again. It's all going to make for compelling viewing in the months to come, to have them back and around, and hopefully the lions will be back with them. Now, interestingly enough, the other herd that we were with, they're moving north, like I said, onto Nkoro, and there's one of the Birmingham boys lying on the boundary of Nkoro and Torchwood, and those buffalo are on a collision course straight towards him. So I wonder if he's going to get himself a meal this morning. And also, for those of you that were wondering about the calves in the herd, I did find two tiny little ones right in the middle of the herd, but as they were crossing over the boundary, and they disappeared into a thicket, so unfortunately we couldn't show you them, but there was two little ones in that herd. Now you can see these buffalo have just had a drink at this dam. It's one of the favorite sort of pans that the buffalo will often drink at, and then I think they're going to start heading southwards. These buffalo are probably going to head down towards the Sand River from here. The Sand River is a great place for buffalo. They love that area. Lots of nice grass that grows on the banks there, and then obviously nice, clean, permanent water source that flows through that sand. But isn't that spectacular? So not just one herd, two. Joel Slider, you're wondering if elephants tolerate buffalo? Yes, they do. I've seen elephants and buffalo around waterholes many times, and they fairly sort of decent towards one another. Sometimes you'll find there'll be an elephant bull that can be a bit sort of grumpy, and he'll chase the buffalo away from the water while he drinks. But in a situation like this, if you had a herd of elephant, they would move past the buffalo no problem. They wouldn't be too concerned. It's only really around water that they get a little bit grumpy sometimes and chase the buffalo away. But otherwise, there's no real stress between them. They both know they are not a threat to one another in terms of the fact that they don't eat meat, either one, and so therefore they're tolerable of each other's presence. The only real incidents that I've heard of with buffalo elephant is generally when You get a single buffalo bull, and he is aggressive towards one of the baby elephants, and then the adults will step in. Or you get young bull elephants that are on their own, that have now come out of the herd. There's a flush of testosterone through their body, and they just want to take it out on somebody. And so a buffalo is slightly smaller, so they impress their size and they try and dominate these buffalo and sometimes even rhinos, and they'll then stab them and kind of use their tusks, and can actually cause fatalities. But that is a very, very, very rare occurrence. It doesn't happen very often. I've seen multiple sightings of buffalo and elephant together, peacefully moving around with one another. Right, well, I think our buffalo are off into the distance, so we're going to probably leave them there and carry on. Road Rush, you're asking whether I can tell which of the buffalo are the sort of pathfinders, and well, no, it's very difficult. I've seen multiple different buffalo lead a herd in the same day, so you'll just find it's more the experienced adults, so the big old males or the really old females that you can see are battered and bruised. They're generally the ones that are the pathfinders. They kind of will take up the front and they'll lead the herd, and they normally have experience of the area, so they know where there's good food, where there's good water, and they will kind of take the herd around. So it's more experienced older individuals that do that. I was just checking if there was any signs of these two cheetah, but I think they still must be north of us. I didn't find any tracks crossing the boundary, and there's nothing that I can see in this area. And sometimes what these cheetah do is go into Kruger Park and then come southwards in the Kruger Park, and then they come out somewhere on the open areas. So alas, no cheetah brothers this morning, but the two buffalo herds have been spectacular and a really nice surprise. It's really good to see them back again. Now we just need them to come all the way back to Djuma and get our Inkahumas back. Territorial in any way, you'll find that they'll probably see each other and they'll actually congregate, because remember also, the more eyes and ears there are, the safer you are and the less chance it's you that are going to be killed. So they like to form bigger groups. It allows them to be able to see predators easier and hear predators easier, and also if they are attacked, as a combined force to defend themselves and keep predators at bay. So they will not be territorial to one another. The only time that you find that buffalo get a bit aggressive and try and kind of push another herd away is when a situation like last year, where we had this really bad drought and there was so little water around that the buffalo were really struggling. Now, I'm sorry, I've got an insect in my eye. They were really struggling to find water. Then they can't afford to be in huge groupings like what we've seen this morning, because they'll just exhaust that resource far too quickly. So then you'll find that they'll be a bit more aggressive and they'll break up into smaller groups. And so if you watched last year during the drought, you'll find that most of the buffalo that we saw were in small little pockets. So we had a few here and a few there, but it wasn't really big groups like what we see now. And this year is going to be much the same. We're going to have a similar situation, because of the amount of sort of rain that we've had has not been huge, as well as the fact that the grass itself is actually really not as much as it looks like. It is tall, but it's very, very sort of slimly spread, and there's not going to be too much come the end of winter, so the buffalo are going to have a tough time again. Now, we're going to carry on, and I think what we're going to try and do is head maybe towards where Jamie had the sticks last night, see if they maybe still have their kill, and while we do that, let's see how James has gone on his leopard search and whether he's had any more luck.
I've given up on my leopard search. I'm afraid that leopard doesn't want to see me. Clearly didn't want to see me yesterday, didn't want to see me the day before either. I've done something wrong to incur her displeasure. So I guess that's just the way it's going to be between Shongila and I for now, until she forgives whatever slight I have made on her character. I'm going to take this opportunity to disagree with Tristan, and I'm sure he won't mind this, because, oh, there's a cuckoo. You'll see it, David. Ooh, David. It's very good. It was a great spotted cuckoo, everybody. And also in the grass here, before I disagree with Tristan, there are some Coqui franklins. And you got them. You did have them, they were in there. Coqui francolinos. I don't know that it's going to be that difficult this season for the buffalo. I think there's a lot of standing water. and I think compared with last season it's going to be infinitely easier than it was. I may be proved wrong, and I'm sure Tristan won't mind my disagreeing with him. But let's see. Biffleshoek Dam's got masses of water in it. WildEarthTV Dam's got quite a lot of water in it. And Treehouse Dam's got much more water than it did this time last year. So I think things are going to be okay. Now, we were talking about plants or trees that have flowered and then have flowered again. Here's one here. This plant, the Senna Petitiana, has begun flowering again, and it was one of the very first plants to flower in the early parts of summer, and now it's gone again. And it was here, of course, that the African vagrant butterfly laid its eggs, and the caterpillars decimated this very tree. And there are no more of those, and it's almost as if the plant sort of put out the first flush, knew it was going to be sacrificed to insects, and now put out another one. I don't remember this happening last year, so that's quite interesting. Oh, this is wonderful, David. There's a kill. I just don't want to knock the kill awry. Can you see there? Oh, I've broken it now. I may as well bring it back to the car. Can you see the spider carrying its prey? Can you see it there? And there's another spider that it's just walked past that it hasn't noticed. Look at that. I wonder where it's taking it. I'm going to take it under my hand by mistake. I think what we must... Can you see the one on my thumb? I think what we must do, I'm afraid, is put this back, because I wonder if its little nesty home isn't sort of somewhere other than where it's going. There it is. Can you see it there? That is fantastic. Here, let me put you back here, Mr. Spider. That is just beautiful. So that's Senna Petitiana, and thankfully they will provide us with a little bit more flower action before the dry season begins. There's another squirrel alarm calling there. Squirrels, of course, are the great liars of the wilderness. I think they alarm call when they see us coming, thinking to themselves, ha 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 ha, I bet they're looking for leopards, ha 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 ha. I think that's what that beastly squirrel is doing. Now, hang on a second. Never mind. Alright, I believe Tayla has managed to find another creature with 6 leggies.
So we've been seeing many praying mantis over the past couple of months. James has had some phenomenal sightings when he had a praying mantis catch a fly on his hand. Now, don't get too excited, because I don't think that's going to happen today. However, this praying mantis is actually really beautiful. We were fortunate enough to see all the flower mantids, which are gorgeous with their lovely bright colours. However, this one is a little bit different. Now, it has got striking yellow just on its underside. It has got it looks like it's got silver eyes. And it is black with red. It is really quite beautiful. I really want to actually see if I can put it on my hand so that we can actually have a closer look at it. Come on. No, it's a little bit feisty being so small. Let me try. Or, hang on, let me put it on the leaf like that. Maybe. You behave, praying mantis. We want to have a very good look at you, because I don't know. I don't think I've ever... Here we go. See how close you can have a look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the different colors on it. Bright red head. Now those are very striking for a praying mantis. Normally you see them in browns and greens, and of course the exceptional flower mantid, which blends in to, well, its home on flowers. But this one, I have no idea what subspecies this praying mantis is. So if you can get a good close-up of it, take some screenshots, save them in your insect folder if you have one, and also please hashtag Safari Live on a good one, a nice clear copy, so that we can have a look a little bit later. I'll check in my insect book, but I don't think I've ever come across something like this with these colors. It is still very young though, or maybe they are just colors to help ward off any predators, but these are incredible. Now, John, you've also said that you've never seen a mantis like this before. It's incredible, and that's what it is. I've literally turned over every leaf. Poor Rohan has had to slam on brakes because something grabs my attention, and I stick my head inside the shrub or in the grass, and I find something, and this I could not let go. It is just too beautiful. That is incredible. I'm just going to turn it around. What part have they seen? Have they seen the nice front? Good close-up of its face. Now, it doesn't look very happy. You can see it's got its abdomen sort of curved back. I don't think that that's a very relaxed sign. It's also on edge. But when you're this small, it must be a little bit daunting to have us as big humans come and sort of watch you. And also you've got to be careful because there's lots of things that would snatch you up. Isn't that cool? It's tiny, 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 tiny. Little praying mantis. We'll let that one go. Right, now Feather Beautiful, you said that the legs are quite creepy. They are indeed. Praying mantis are not, they're interesting to look at. I don't know if you could describe them as beautiful. That one's sort of, the colour of its lenses being almost silver in colour was really quite special. Like I said, I've never seen anything like it. But they are, and a small one like that doesn't bother me too much. But you can get me to jump at night if we're standing outside. We often will just stand outside and have a look at the stars in the car park because there's no trees over the car park, so it's nice and open. And the big tech room is basically just on the other side, so often there's the light is coming from the computers and everything else that is inside there, so you'll see all the insects gathering on the window on the outside, and we get praying mantises that are the size of my hand, and every now and then as you're standing talking you'll get one that hits you on the back of the leg and then goes down your shirt. You've got to do a wriggle, and you almost have to stop yourself from pulling all your clothes off because you realize that it is just a praying mantis and it's probably not going to do anything. But those ones are a little bit on the creepy side. They're really, really big ones. But it's interesting to watch them though as they go after moths and things. So it's an interesting learning experience. Even when we're not driving around and doing things, we're still watching all the bugs and birds and animals that come through our camp. I think what we're going to do is, I haven't walked on quarantine, so we're going to head up towards quarantine and have a little scratch around there, see if there's anything new developing. I'm not sure where Tristan is. The last I heard, he was still on Cheetah Plains, and I'm sure he's still bumbling about over there.
We are indeed, Tayla. We are on Cheetah Plains. We are bumbling about, so 100% well done. Very, very good. And we're just checking around, seeing if there's anything. Like I say, slowly making our way towards where the sticks were that Jamie had yesterday, and just see if there's any sign of them there. But otherwise, we're just taking it very easy and just seeing what else there is and enjoying the beauty of Cheetah Plains. Now, I believe Mr. James Henry was disagreeing with me on the buffalo, which is perfect. We have to have two sides to every argument, which is great. So I do not mind at all, James. It's perfectly acceptable to disagree. And I do agree with one thing that James mentioned, was that we do have a lot of standing water. And so the standing water really should help a little bit. Now, checking, making sure no cars are coming. So the standing water will definitely help, and the buffalo won't have it nearly as bad as what they had at last year. That's for sure. There's far more grass and water already, but they just... it's just that they're going to still not have the best time of it. It's not exactly like they've come off great years, so it's still recovering a little bit. But we're going to go through a bad signal area now, unfortunately. So while we do that, let's go across to the man himself and see where he is and what he's up to, and whether he got any other advice for me this morning.
Pigs disappearing. Disappearing pigs. Houdini pigs. You know what I'm doing now, David? No, I'm not crying. What am I wiping off my face? I'm wiping off my face the spit of the universe, David. for it has spat on me once again. We are going to go towards a pan over here, or I suspect not Tristan, what's the other one's name? Tayla. I suspect that she was been here because I can see her dainty footprints, followed by the slightly heavier footprints of Rohan and Herberto. And then we're going to do a very quick dash to the Beefles Hook Dam before the end of the drive, because if there's one thing that I know for certain, it's that if I go to Beefles Hook Dam, there will be nothing there. Try and defy me, universe, try. See if you can. Let's go around this corner to this little pan, where there will be nothing at all. You see, this is why a knowledge of plants is very important, because they cannot run. No matter how I bet you it wants to. This tall white squirrel next to us, which David is failing dismally to find. David, thank you, yes, that's him there. That cannot run away. I know it wants to. I know it's thinking to itself, how can I get out of this situation where I'm being viewed by this man on whom the universe has so clearly spat? Well, there it is, the tall white squirrel. Now I'm going to try and find something out about the tall white squirrel quickly, because I think they're quite pretty plants, and they too have come up late in the season. Naturally, I can't find the squirrel in this book. I might not even have the squirrel. Isn't that nice? Purplish, a little bit of white. No, I'm afraid I can't tell you anything about it. I apologize. Ayla, you want to know what my favourite flower is? I often wonder when I've asked that question if I've been asked it before, and then if I've given an answer, and then if I'm going to give the same answer when I'm asked again. I think I've got the birds pretty taped. I'm going to say to you, Ayla, that my favourite flower out here is probably that jasmine. Just move very slowly. It's a squirrel. Oh, that's not a squirrel, David, that's a duiker. But there's a squirrel. Close to us here. There. Hello, squirrel. How are you? Are you well? So I'm going to go with that jasmine, because they just smell so very delicious. I also like the gardenia. I've definitely mentioned the gardenia many times before. And I like the gardenia because it too has the most delightful smell. Now it's sort of giving a slightly half-hearted alarm call going. Sounds like my nephew when he wants a sweet. Sunday squirrel, David. You know, it's quite something when you have a 3-hour game drive and the height of your achievements is a tree squirrel, which is essentially a glorified rat with a slightly fluffy tail.
Good view.
It is a great view of this glorified rat with its fluffy tail. I think they're very special though. Now, while I have found a small, non-carnivorous rodent as the pinnacle of my Sunday achievements, Tristan has found buffalo and also lions.
We have indeed. We're with the Styx, and guess what? The tiny little cubs are here. Look at them. So these are the new little ones that I've never seen them before. Aren't they cute? Now I'm sure these are not even 3 months old. They're still very, very spotty and super cute. And look at that one. It's now taking a nap on the branch itself. That's absolutely amazing. So it's so great. We've got all 3 Styx all 6 of the cubs, and 1 of the Birmingham males as well. Now that little cub is just going through there. You can see the Birmingham male who's lying on top of the carcass at the moment, and off he goes to go and investigate Dad. I have to be a little bit careful that sometimes the males can get a bit grumpy with the cubs. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go round, because we're going to have a much better view of the cubs. They were actually lying out in the open here with the moms, but they've now subsequently moved. But isn't this exciting? So good to see little lion cubs, and they're so cute at the moment. They're little, they're still very fluffy, and they're fat from the milk that they've been getting from mom. So they're at that best phase when you start to see them when they're tiny like this, and it's great that they've been introduced into meat now. So it means that they must be about 3 months, maybe a little bit more, which is absolutely fantastic. But they are the cutest little things. Now hopefully we can just get ourselves around where I can show you them. I don't want to chase them or get them frightened anyway, so I'm going to just pull off to the side here. There we go, Senzo. There should be a nice gap for you there. I'm going to get my head out the way. But look at that, aren't they cute? And now in comparison to the size of the Birmingham male, they're about the size of his front paw. So that's how small they are. They're very little. Hello guys. Welcome to Safari Live. So they're making their Safari Live debut, I think. I don't think they were seen yesterday with Tayla and with James and Jamie. So it's really good to see them. And there are 4 of them in total. And they've done really well to be able to negotiate the floods that we've had, because they were born around the time that we had the sort of flooding drainage lines. So it's really good to see that they made it through all of that, and they were actually in fact in the drainage line when they were born. So I'm glad that they didn't get caught up in that flooding. But are they not the sweetest little things? And so nice of the Styx to be lying out in the open for us. You're wondering when the spots will disappear? Well, it depends on the lion. I've seen lions that are 4 or 5 years old with still having some spots on their tummy, but generally you find as they start to reach a year, they become really faded and hardly visible. You'll still see some on the legs at about a year old, and by the time they reach sort of maturity at 3, there's very little sign of spots anymore. But the ones on the back, you can see they've got spots on their back at the moment. Those will disappear within the next probably 2-3 months. So they'll start to lose those fairly quickly. But are they not the cutest little things? How special is this to be able to see them and to have the whole Styx Pride? Now I'm hoping that in these 4 little cubs, plus the 2 older ones, there are some females, and that they will be successful, because the Styx Pride really needs to catch a break. They've had such a horrid time of it over the last 5-6 years, with all the male coalitions that we've had, the mange that they got last winter. It would be really great if they actually just got themselves some female little cubs and raise them to maturity, so that this pride can carry on. It's one of the oldest prides that has been followed in the Sabi Sands. It's been around for years. And so to see it kind of fizzling out the way it is at the moment with just these 3 females, who are all elderly females, they're not exactly young individuals, it means that we really need some of these young little cubs to survive, and some of them to be females. But look at that, isn't that cute? Hey guys. Listen to them. Listen to them talking to Mom. Isn't that amazing? I love when little lion cubs want milk. So you can hear them squeaking away. It's because they want milk now. So they want milk, and that's why they're talking to Mom. They're asking for milk and begging and pleading. So cute. Now, if they're going to suckle, I just want to see what they do. If they're going to suckle, I might go back around to where we were originally. But it looks like they're off to explore again. So because Mom's not giving them milk, they're now starting to do their own thing. And they're getting to that age where they're going to get naughty now. They're going to start being quite playful. But look at the size of the bellies. There's one walking here in front that's going up to the tree. Look at that belly. It is absolutely full. So they've had their first taste of meat, as well as probably Mom's milk. So they are as fat and as full as possible. Absolutely beautiful. Are you going to fall asleep like that? That doesn't look comfortable. So cute. And getting themselves into a little bit of shade now just to rest. So So Drea, yes, all 4 cubs are from one lioness. They're from the lioness on the right hand side, who's lying there. There's actually one cub that's busy playing with her at the moment, so that's the mother of all 4. And then there are 2 older cubs that are now about 6 months old, 5-6 months old, and they're lying behind the Birmingham boy. So you can see where he is over here. There the little cubs are over that area. You can just see a little ear sticking out. So those are the 2 older cubs. But I love how he's guarding his carcass. Isn't this amazing, with his foot on it, as if to say to all the females, do not come anywhere near. This is my waterbuck. You shall not have anything. And he's just making sure, even while he's sleeping, that everybody knows it. Now, I'm not sure which Birmingham it is. It could be in Suku. So it looks like it might be in Suku. I can't see nicely. It would be a very, very big guess. So maybe some of you who can actually get some screenshots might be able to identify which Birmingham boy that is. But it does look like in Suku, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll have to see who that is. Now, some of the Styx lionesses are waking up. I think they're getting a little bit hot. The sun has just started to come out, so I think they're wanting to find some shade. So we might see this female standing up. So I just got you. You're asking, what did they kill? Well, it looks like a adult female waterbuck. So just in front of the Birmingham's head, where he's now sitting with his paw up, we go down there, you can see the head of the waterbuck there. So there's the ears and the eyes, and there's no horns coming off there. So it looks like a female waterbuck that they've managed to kill, which is a fairly decent meal for 3 lionesses. But now that the Birmingham boy has arrived, he's going to eat all of that. And so by the end of today, there will be nothing left. And I would imagine that if it gets really hot, these lionesses actually might abandon this carcass and move towards some sort of water source today and get themselves a little bit of moisture just to rehydrate after sitting in the heat with such full bellies and panting so much. They're going to lose quite a bit of moisture. But there's probably enough food there to last them today, and we'll find then tomorrow morning they will have left this and probably gone somewhere else. But I'm hoping from here the nearest water point is on Cheetah Plains, so it would be really, really nice if they head that way. Now, I'm going to just go back around again to where the female is, because I'm hoping that those little cubs are going to come back to their mom, and then we'll be able to get a better view of them. But isn't this spectacular? So good to see them. Like I say, these little ones are making their debut today, and they've been hidden very, very well. I actually haven't heard of too many sightings over the last few weeks of them. There's been 1 or 2 here and there, so we're really, really lucky to be able to see them and to get such a nice visual of them in this long grass. When they go into the grass, I know Jamie last night was struggling to find the lions. She said she was parked right next to them and she could hardly see them, and the grass really is very, very long. So to be able to see these little bundles of fluff running around in this long grass is really very special. Right, let's see now. Alright, so there we go. Hopefully the little ones will come out to mom. Rebecca, you're wondering what animals will prey on the cubs given the chance. Well, there is a number of different predators for a cub of that size. We're going to end up with probably things like pythons. There's going to be birds of prey like martial eagles that will be a threat, hyenas, leopards, lions, wild dogs, even cheetah, if they came across those cubs by themselves, would be a threat. So there is a number of different predators that could potentially cause harm to these lions, so lion cubs. But the thing is that you would want to be very careful, because if mom finds you there attacking those cubs, whoever that predator is going to be in for a very hard time. Also, other male lions could potentially be a threat, other lion prides. So it's really a number of predators, and that's why the survival rate is so low, is because of the amount of danger that there is for these little cubs for the first sort of 6 months of their life. Once they reach about 6 months, then they generally are walking with the pride most places. They kind of get left for the hunt, but they then get fetched straight away as soon as the hunt is finished, or they actually just sit and watch the hunt take place. So from about 6 months, they're already learning how the hunt works, and as soon as we get to sort of 8 months to a year, then they are starting to participate at about a year old in what's going on. So it's the first sort of year of their life that really is very difficult. Look at them coming. And we'll see with cubs that there'll always be one that's more adventurous than the others and will lead what's going on. Oh, look at that. That is so, so cute. And here they come, all of them together. And look at that. Isn't that amazing? Listen to them. Absolutely incredible. So Jan, you're wondering if lions stay together for all their life. Now, if there isn't a cuter picture, there is one right there. So for those of you that like screenshots, that's absolutely beautiful, with the little cub just lying under mom's protection, getting groomed. Really, really pretty. Remember, you can hashtag Safari Live if you've taken some screenshots so that we can see all of them and listen to him calling. So Jan, if they are female cubs, then yes, they will stay as part of the pride, and they will form their part and sort of be integrated into the pride. If they are male cubs, unfortunately not. They are going to then distribute out, because the males are going to unfortunately chase them, the dominant males, as they get bigger, because they know that those dominant males, or these young males, could be a threat later. So if they're little males, unfortunately they'll be pushed out. If they're females, they'll be allowed to stay as part of the pride. Now, if the pride grows too big, so let's say potentially these 3 lionesses, they all produce 4 females, and we get another 12 females, then what we'll see is sometimes that they're not able to feed all of those lions, and then you'll get splits. So if we take the Salala Pride is now split, I think, for the 4th time. So we had first of all the Mangen split, then the Salalas themselves split into the Tayla's female and the young males and the other female, and then the Mangen Pride is now split again. So there's a Mangen breakaway. So that pride is actually split 4 times just because of the number of lions. Had they all stayed together, the Salala Pride would be over 40 lions now, and that's almost impossible to feed and sustain. So they will then break apart and not stay together. But otherwise, if it's females, generally they're integrated into the pride and they become part of the pride for life. But listen how they're all listening to these little talkative cubs. So mom has just moved because she wants a little bit of shade. She's probably tired of being in the hot sun. And the little ones are complaining because they want milk. Even though they've got fat, full bellies, it's still time for milk. They want as much milk as they can possibly get. So when mom doesn't let them suckle, they then complain bitterly like this, and there's lots of squeaking and carrying on that goes on. But I'm going to just try and go forward a little bit because it looks like there's a nice gap. So, Lauren, you're asking, will the cubs nurse from the other lioness? Well, there's no other lioness at the moment that's producing milk sufficient to sustain these 4 cubs. There we go, there's one suckling. So at the moment, no. But if another female had to give birth and she also had milk, then it is possible. Generally, lions will prefer that their own offspring is the ones that actually suckle off them. But if the others have been away for a while and those cubs are starving, they will then sometimes allo-suckle and allow another litter to suckle from them. But in the Styx case, there's no other female at this stage that has cubs that will supply enough milk to sustain these little ones, so they'll just be suckling off their mother. And that's why she spends so little time with them. There's been a lot of cases where we've just had 2 lionesses in this area with the Styx, or 2 lionesses and a Birmingham boy, and that's because this female is spending so much time with her little ones, just trying to sustain them and give them the nutrients that they need to survive. And you can actually see there, this is quite a great picture, an example of how we know when these lionesses have given birth. If you have a look, she's very full at the moment, so she's got a very swollen tummy, but just above the cub's head you can see there's almost like a seam and then a swelling of the glands there where that are producing the milk. So the lioness's tummy changes slightly. If she doesn't have cubs, that would all be flat. You wouldn't get that bulge of milk like that, so you know straight away when they've given birth, because you see that heavy amount of milk. And even just prior to birth you start to see that happening. But it's just a nice example of the different sort of shape between being full and when they have young ones and are producing milk. Now, so Michael, we could tell if they were male and female. Honestly, this is the first time I've seen them, and so it's really tough just from these first few sort of glimpses as to know whether they are male or female. It's quite difficult at this age. It's not easy, but if you really can see them up close and see under their tails, you can tell, but it's not easy at all. So I would really not be able to tell you how many are male or female at this stage. Maybe a little bit later, or if we get a clearer view, we can do some screenshots and see if we can't see if they are male or females, but at this stage I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Look, they're playing with the tail now. So, Mean, I'll get your question now. It looks like possibly one of the older cubs is starting to come in and start to cause trouble. It's just fallen on this left-hand side of where those cubs are now. So let's see if they start to come and play with their younger siblings. Nope, they're all having a little bit of a nap now. Now, Alice, if you can just repeat Mean's questions for me, please, so that I can just remember exactly what it was. So do the cubs have a hierarchy or dominance in amongst them? No, not at this age. I mean, this age they're still quite small, and they will all fight for access to the teats, and because there's 4 of them, they're lucky. They're all going to be able to get to a teat. She's got 4 teats, and so they're all going to be able to suckle. When you do start to develop a hierarchy is generally when there's more than 4. They then start to fight with each other quite a bit to be able to get access to those teats, and you'll find one that will get the most access will become the strongest one and be able to then start dominating the rest of them. But as they start to get older, there will definitely be siblings that get slightly bigger, and they will then become the more sort of dominant of the group of them and play around, and when they're playing they will sort of wrestle with the others and be able to pin them down a little bit more. So it does happen. So you can see the size difference now already. So that's the difference between 3 months and 6 months. They've almost doubled in size. You can see that's one of the older cubs. It's now just disappearing behind the bush there. But that's the size difference, and it shows you just how fast these little lion cubs do grow. But they are really at the best stage now. Well, this is my favorite time to see lion cubs, when they're sort of between 2 and 4 months. They really, really are quite special. So she's up again now. I just need to let everybody know that I am in the sighting. Stations I'm unlocked with the sticks. Andrew, it's a 1 vehicle sighting because the small cubs are here at the moment. So I'll be probably 10 minutes and then you can come in. So with this sighting at the moment, it is because these little cubs are so small, we're just introducing them to the vehicles and getting them used to the fact that they have these big sort of great moving machines around them, and so it's just a 1 vehicle sighting so that they can get used to it, and we don't want to stress them out, and so we don't get to spend nearly as much time with them as we would probably want to, but we will sit with it for them in about another 10 minutes, and then we'll make space for Andrew, who's from Cheetah Plains and is always very accommodating and helpful with us in the north, so we definitely would want to help him as much as possible as well and allow him to see such a special sight. But isn't this amazing? Now, you can see how difficult it is here because the cubs just disappear in the grass. So, Donald, the reason why the cubs aren't scared of the vehicle is because Mom is not scared of the vehicle. So the cubs are watching what Mom does. And remember, while we haven't seen these little cubs, they have been seen by other vehicles. So the first time you would have found that these little cubs would have gone running. They would have run away from this big sort of machine that arrives, but because Mom sits there completely unfazed, she doesn't pay any attention to us, the cubs learn from their mother. So if their mother's relaxed, they then learn, well, it's nothing that we need to worry about. Mom will take care of us and she'll show if it's something we need to be scared about, and that's why they've become relaxed around the car. Also at their age they're quite inquisitive, so now there's something new that Mom doesn't mind around that they can go and look at and investigate, and so that's why they tend to be very, very chilled and very calm around the vehicles. Now we're going to sit, like I say, with these cubs for a little bit longer, and while we do that, let's go across to James, who I think is with a very large underwater animal.
Now, I wonder what a very large underwater animal could be. What do you think it is? Could it be a great white shark? No! It is Hippopotamus amphibius. The hippopotamus. There he is. 3 of them. 3 hippopotami, 1 very big in the front, 2 slightly smaller ones behind, and here at Bivelshoek Dam, the site of my great successes of the last few months, this is what I have found. And it's very pleasant sitting here in the sun, I must say. Probably one bull, well, a big bull and 2 younger bulls. And this is a sort of little pod, and maybe that's a bull and 2 cows. And this is the beginnings of a more permanent settlement here at Beefles Hook Dam. I must say, I often wonder if a hippopotamus is very bright, because to sit all day long contemplating nothing but the feeling of the water as it passes over your nose, eyes and ears, I imagine that you must have a brain that is either very good at abstract thought or entirely dim, so it doesn't think a great deal. I doubt they ponder a huge amount on the sort of difficulties of the universe and its existence, or whether indeed it does exist. Are you thinking about something like that, chaps, or not? Are you thinking about the grass you ate last night, the grass you'll eat tonight? It'd be quite nice if this is sort of beginnings of a pod, a bull and 2 cows. They may have some youngsters, and if this waterhole stays full for long enough, well, then they might stay here for a while. It's certainly much bigger than it was this time last year. It's much bigger than I've ever seen it before. Much more water than there's ever been since I've been here. And so perhaps we will be very lucky, and they will set up permanent residence here. Rebecca, you want to know about the babies that these 2 might give birth to, if they are cows, and I'm right. You want to know if they only give birth to 1 at a time. Yes, they do. I've no doubt that there have probably been, at various stages of history, the odd hippopotamus that's given birth to twins. I'd say that's probably possible. Have I ever seen it? No, I haven't. I feel like I've read about it, though. So I'm sure twins is possible. It would be highly unusual, though, except to say that when a hippopotamus is born, it is proportionately smaller than something like a rhino, which is of equal mass as an adult. So when a hippopotamus gestation period is only 8 months, and a rhino's is almost 16 months, and so the baby is proportionately smaller, and I would imagine therefore that because the baby is smaller and it's slightly more altricial, it's slightly less able to run around than a rhino's or than an impala's or something like that. Because of that, I imagine there's probably a little bit of extra space in the uterus, which could allow for a double birth. So maybe it does happen more often than I think. Alrighty, we're going to leave these chaps. Tristan has got a nice close-up, apparently, of those tiny little baby teddy bear cubs.
We did, but they're moving because Mom is moving, so I'm just trying to reposition myself so that we can see them. They came right up to the car to investigate what we were, and then Mom called them back and said, that's far enough, you just stay where you are. So I'm just going to try and get around this little corner here so we can show you these little ones, because Mom is there. Hello, little guys. Hello. Isn't that cute? Listen to them talking. Come on, go. There we go. So it looks like she's going to lie down, which means the other cubs will go there. So then I can just move slightly forward, and then we'll have a really nice clear view of all of them, which will be really great because the older cubs have also arrived out now. They're right out in the open, so we should get a really nice view of all of them together. Oh, there we go. Isn't that nice? That's special. There we go. Hello, guys. Hello, my girl. Isn't she magnificent? Yes, your babies are beautiful. Well done. You know, to be a mother of 4 little ones like this is such hard work. You can see they climb all over her, they gaining all the nutrients from that milk, which is taking nutrients away from her body. So she's really, it's a tough time for this lioness. Now, the cub that's lying closest to us at the moment, that's got its tail kind of wedged close to us, that's just by her front leg, that is a little male. I've just seen when his tail lifted, so we know that there's one male already, and he's the one closest to us. And there he's busy wiggling his bum, getting comfortable. So there's definitely one male out of the four. It'll be interesting to see what the others are. Hopefully they'll come this way and I'll be able to get a better look in and be able to tell you what they are. So, David, you're wondering if the lioness will try and keep the male around for protection. Oh, hello, little one. No, not really. I've seen that sometimes they actually get quite aggressive with the males being close to their cubs. Okay, so we've got a little female and a little male. Sorry, I'm just watching them as they're moving around. So they actually can sometimes get quite aggressive with the cubs, with the males. The males often are a bit rough with the cubs, and so the females then don't really like the males around. Also, when you've got a coalition of 4 males like the Birminghams, there sometimes is the possibility that one of the coalition members kills the cubs thinking that it might not be his. So she'll be a little bit wary of that, but the Birminghams have proved so far that they really are quite good dads, and they've spent a lot of time with both the Nkahuma and the Styx cubs in the past, and they've been really very good to those cubs. They've often very tolerant of the cubs feeding around the carcass. So in terms of these particular 4 males, they seem to be good, and so the Styx actually spend a lot of time with them, and so do the Nkahumas, and it seems to work really well. And the males will offer some form of protection, but these 3 females will be perfect. Look at that, there's a big hug. Isn't that amazing? That is so awesome. Now, we saw Amber Eyes hug one of the Nkahuma cubs before, but that one was a real serious hug. That little cub got dragged from far away and brought in. There we go. I wonder if this one's going to get a little hug as well. Yes, there we go. And a little one. Now it's time for you to get groomed. Isn't this amazing? Oh, so special. This is so special, guys. We're being absolutely spoiled by these little cubs. Isn't this amazing? And she's talking back to them. You hear her, she's got that low, deep grunt. Absolutely incredible. So, 2 females, 1 male. We've just got 1 more that we need to. So there's a female lying by her head, a female that's between her back legs. The male is the one that's over the top. And now we just need to identify the one on the right hand side. So near her right leg where there's that little cut, that's the only one we need to see if it's a girl or a boy. But 2 females is a really good number so far, which is great news. So, female on the top of mom, male closest to us, female behind that male, and then the one right at the back, I'm not sure yet, but hopefully it will come out and I'll be able to see. But look at that, it's a little lion stack on top of mom. Absolutely amazing. Like I say, we are being so spoiled. These kind of sightings are not common. We obviously we spend time with lions, but to have the little ones out in the open, so vocal, with mom being so affectionate, is such a special experience. So I believe some of you are a little bit worried that the cubs have mange. Well, they might have some little traces of it, but all in all, they look really, really healthy. There's just the one that's got a little mark on his back, but I'm not sure it's actually mange. It doesn't look like an area that's been scratched more than actually a scar. So I think maybe that little one has had a little cut on its back at some point, and that's why it's all raw and worn like that. It doesn't look that same mangy appearance. Generally with mange, it tends to go quite sort of crusty and it tends to form scabs. That doesn't have a scab. It looks more like a scar to me. The older cubs definitely have some little bits of traces of mange, but it's not bad. And these cubs look as though they're really healthy. They've got big fat tummies. They seem to be doing just fine. So I think we'll be fine with these cubs at this stage. It is also sort of at the end of summer, so the mite from the mange is not going to be doing that well now. It's been too wet, too moist, and so we'll find a situation where in all likelihood, these guys should be fine. As long as the Styx can keep providing food, and with the arrival of these buffalo herds that we're seeing, that is in the heart of the Styx territory. So hopefully they'll be getting enough nutrients to supply nutrient-rich milk that these little cubs will do just fine and will be survivors at the end of the day. And the 6-month-old ones are looking no worse than what the Nkuhumas are, so I reckon that all will be okay. Now, as much as I would love to spend the entire day here today, we do need to let some of the other guys in, and it's such a special sighting that for people that have come all the way to South Africa, it would be wonderful for them to see that. So we're going to probably try and just sneak our way out without disturbing these little ones and allow Andrew to come and have a look while they're out in the open, and he can get a nice view of them. But I'm sure these cubs will still be here this afternoon, so it will be a perfect chance to come this afternoon. Alright, well, we're going to carry on. Now, James, I believe, is still driving, still looking, and I hope his luck is going to change with something special on his way home.
Yes, still driving, still looking desperately. We're going to go for one last turn past the Djuma Dam, where the alarm calling was, where Shongile was assumed to be, and where she has not been today. So we've got about 3 minutes to that, so I'm going to drive quite quickly. We may or may not lose David from the back of the car. I hope we won't. See what we can see that end. We saw one Nyala since I saw you last. It was unfortunately in an area of absolutely no signal whatsoever. Up and over we go. She's going to appear just in front of us under this tree. Is she? You can hear an alarm calling green-backed bleating warbler. I don't see a leopard anywhere. You, David? I would definitely, if I were you, keep an eye on the dam cam during the course of the afternoon and the rest of the morning, for she may well pitch up at some stage. I mean, I'm assuming it was her. Could have been Tingana or someone like that, but I don't think so. And as I keep banging on about this grass, of course, is so long that the leopard can sink down slowly to its haunches and become completely and utterly invisible. This is where we thought that she was going up and down in this drainage system here. This is where the impala were looking. I walked through here twice, both sides, nothing. We'll have one last look at Gelago Pan. Here are a number of impala. Yes, and Cindy, you say Shongile, terrapin hunter extraordinaire. Absolutely, she is an extraordinary terrapin hunter. And as David was saying, really can't be very nice living on terrapins. And I would agree. I think tortoises probably slightly better, taste a bit like chicken. I think terrapins taste like terrapin, which apparently is a really great and foul thing. This little bit of mud there with a dam, not a dam, a dove in it. So not much going on there. Not much time left, is there, David, to be finding it? We've only got 30 seconds before we'll have to say goodbye and go and eat Amanda's deliciousness. Alright, everyone, that is going to be it from us today. Thank you very much for coming on our drive. I apologise once again for my incompetence, but at least Tristan was competent and so was Tayla. Thank you, David, for your efforts, and thank you to all of you for your questions and comments. We will see you later this afternoon at 1530 hours. Bye-bye.